All right, today we are diving deep into Greek mythology to talk about one of its most tragic, most influential, and frankly, most messed up families, the House of Atreus. And their story? It isn't just some ancient myth. It's a terrifying look at how ambition and betrayal can literally create a curse that echoes for generations. So if you're a fan of Dune, the name House Atreides probably rings a bell. Well, their name and their whole tragic destiny is a shout-out to a much older, much bloodier family. Trust me, what these guys went through makes intergalactic warfare look like a walk in the park.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What if every single major choice in your life was haunted by the terrible things your great-great-grandfather did? This story is more than just a myth. It's a chilling question about fate, free will, and the kind of trauma that gets passed down.
So, where does a curse this epic even begin? Well, like so many great tragedies, it all starts with one guy's staggering arrogance against the gods, and it centers on what has to be the single worst dinner party in all of history. Okay, so meet the patriarch, Tantalus. He's a son of Zeus, he hangs out with the gods, but he got a little too full of himself. He wanted to test if the gods were really all-knowing, and his genius idea for this test? He did the unthinkable. He killed his own son Pelops, cooked him into a stew, and served him to his divine dinner guests. I mean, the sheer hubris is just off the charts. And here's what's so fascinating. This myth is baked right into our language today. The gods, of course, were not fooled for a second. And for his crime, Tantalus got a very specific, very poetic punishment that gave us the word tantalizing. Picture this for all eternity. He's standing in a pool of cool, clear water. But every time he bends down to take a drink, the water level drops just out of reach. And hanging right over his head is a tree full of juicy fruit, but every time he reaches for it, the branches lift away. He is forever tormented by things he can never have. And that eternal frustration? That's the seed of his family's curse. So the gods actually brought Pelops back to life, replacing the shoulder bone one of them accidentally ate with a piece of pure ivory. But just because he got a second chance doesn't mean the family was in the clear. Oh no. Pelops was about to add his own dark chapter to the story.
So Pelops wants to marry a princess, right? But to win her hand, he has to beat her father in a chariot race that no one has ever survived. So, what does he do? He cheats. He bribes a servant, Myrtilus, to sabotage the king's ride. And it works like a charm. Pelops wins the race, the girl, the whole kingdom. But then, to make sure no one ever finds out, he kills the one guy who made it all happen.
And this is the moment it all becomes official. As Myrtilus is dying, he uses his last breath to scream out a curse on Pelops and every single one of his descendants. What started as one man's crime against the gods has now become a full-blown hereditary curse. Now we get to the sons of Pelops, the brothers the house is actually named for, Atreus and his twin, Thyestes. And if you thought this story was dark before, just brace yourself. The rivalry between these two is going to take this curse to a whole new level of awful. It all boils down to who gets the throne. Atreus claims it, saying he has a sign from the gods, a lamb with a golden fleece. But then Thyestes casually reveals that he already has the lamb, because he's been sleeping with Atreus' wife and she stole it for him. It's just a stunning, double-layered betrayal. So Atreus, completely humiliated, makes this wild, impossible bargain. He says that if the sun itself moves backward in the sky, then everyone will know the gods are on his side. And in a crazy show of divine power, Zeus actually does it. The sun sets in the east. Atreus gets his throne back. But being king again wasn't enough. Not even close. Atreus needed revenge. So he pretends to forgive his brother, inviting him over for a huge feast to celebrate their reunion. And at this feast, Atreus murders his brother's young sons, has them cooked, and serves them to their own father. It's only after Thyestes has eaten his fill that Atreus reveals the leftovers, the severed hands and feet of his children. The family curse has now officially hit the levels of kinslaying and cannibalism. This brings us to probably the most famous members of the family, the sons of Atreus himself, Agamemnon and Menelaus. The curse follows them all the way to the Trojan War, where Agamemnon, the leader of the entire Greek army, is forced to make a terrible choice of his own. The chain reaction here is just horrifying. See, to get favorable winds to sail to Troy,
Agamemnon has to sacrifice his own daughter, Iphigenia. So for the next 10 years, while he's off winning the war, his wife Clytemnestra is at home, stewing in her grief, plotting her revenge. The very night he comes home a war hero, she and her lover, who happens to be Thyestes' only surviving son, murder Agamemnon in his bath. The curse of one generation is paid in the blood of the next.
So we have one generation left, Agamemnon's children, Orestes and Electra. They've grown up knowing their mother killed their father and is now ruling with his murderer. The curse demands one last, impossible payment.
And this is the question the whole saga ends on. It's an unbearable choice. What's your greater duty? What's the greater sin? This is the unbelievable weight that lands right on Orestes' shoulders. The dilemma is just perfect in a terrible way. On the one hand, his sacred duty, his honor, demands that he avenge his father's murder. On the other hand, to do that, he has to commit matricide, killing his own mother, a crime that was considered absolutely repellent to both gods and mortals.
Pushed by the god Apollo, Orestes finally makes his choice. He goes back to Mycenae and he kills them both, his mother Clytemnestra and her lover Aegisthus. He has fulfilled his duty to his father.
But killing his mother nearly drives him insane. He's hunted by the Furies, these ancient spirits of vengeance that chase him to the ends of the earth. But then, something new happens. It takes a divine trial, a brand new idea presided over by Athena, the goddess of wisdom, to finally break the cycle of violence. For the first time, justice, not just revenge, gets to have the final say. And with that, the curse on the House of Atreus is finally over.
So, the story has an ending. But it leaves you with this heavy thought. Yeah, the cycle was broken, but it cost generations of pain, murder, and utter betrayal. It makes you wonder, right? What inherited curses, what cycles of conflict and trauma that started long before any of us were born are still playing out in our world right now?